Oh, hey, hey. Good evening. Evening here. Wish I was coming to you today with some more funny stuff. You know, me doing stupid things, which I'm really more accustomed to doing, and causing hilariously unnecessary pain to myself to get a good, give somebody else a laugh anyway. Can't do that today. Too much other stuff going on that it's important for me to get out. Everything going on, I've been trying to hold my tongue about it, and I can't do that now because I just became a grandpa today. I got a grandson now. Didn't think that would ever happen. Kind of unexpected because the little joker was about a month early than he should have been, but hey, he's in good shape right now, so as long as he's healthy. Yeah, I'm a granddaddy. Never thought I'd see the day. And yeah, that's part of the reason I'm here right now. Everything going on, I've tried my best to hold my tongue, keep it, just stay out of it and not say much about it. Yeah, I can't keep quiet anymore, not with this going on. I keep hearing these little groups, Antifa little pricks, and the BLM idiots that are out there. Everybody's screaming about white privilege. Somebody please explain what that is. I have no idea. What the hell is it? White privilege? I don't... Maybe somebody else is familiar with it. I don't know. I know I've never had it that I'm aware of. A little bit about me real quick. Just kind of so you know where I'm coming from with this. I grew up, most of my childhood, early 70s up into the 80s. I grew up in the middle of the Bible Belt, in the South, folks. I know the accent, right? I grew up primarily, I spent most of my childhood in a small town government funded housing project, because that's where my granny and granddaddy lived from the time I can remember as a kid on up until I was in high school. It was in a small town government housing project, and from time to time forgot to mention, my mom and dad split when I was about 3, maybe 4 years old, somewhere around in there. And my dad was never really around much before then anyway, because during the Vietnam time he was in the military and he was off on deployments, so really never saw my dad a whole lot. And then when he and my mom split, never saw him at all. Anyway, me, my mom, my brother, and my sister, 4 of us, we lived in the same projects from time to time when it was necessary, but also there were times when we would just have to move in with my granny and granddaddy and stay with them. Little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, concrete block apartment, And my uncle would every now and then he'd come in and be living with us too. So 7 people. Anyway. And in this little housing project, during the 70s and up into the 80s, naturally, we white people. Yeah. We're all in this boat together, folks. And using food stamps a lot of time. Most of the time, most of my childhood that I remember, we were having to use food stamps to buy groceries. That's back before the whole EBT cards or whatever they call them now, when you just looks like a credit card. No, you had to go in with a little book of stamps and actually pay for it. Very embarrassing. Yeah, so privilege is great so far. Yeah, it's great. And so, go through that and, make it through high school. You know, mom, like I said, mentioned, you know, working 2 or 3 jobs, part-time jobs here and there, whatever she can get work, waitress, cashier at a convenience store. You know, one of the most dangerous jobs in the country, by the way. Just to put some food on the table and get us our school supplies that we needed and so forth. And during this time, yeah, during the 70s, some of you my age, obviously, will remember. Hey, that was back during the time we actually had some racial problems going on. I mean, I remember very vividly. A lot of racial tension back there. Oddly enough, wasn't so much during where I lived, because, I mean, black, white, I had just as many black friends as I did white friends. We all played together, we all got along together, we all fought together, or with each other, whichever, you know, day it was, you know, but we all just lived together and made out best we could. We helped each other when we could. It's just the way it was. But the KKK, oh man, it was nothing unusual at all to see them standing around in the, you know, in their little groups out in the parking lots of the local shopping center with their fancy, snazzy little white robes and their pointy little hats and, you know, little sheets covering their face or whatever. Yeah. As a kid, you know, when you're 4 and 5 years old especially, you don't understand what's going on. So I remember one day in particular, my mom and I was with her going to the store and pull up in the local shopping center, and well, there's a group of KKK in their snazzy looking robes and their pointy little hats. And being 4 or 5 years old, however old I was at the time, hey Mom, look at the funny looking clowns. And the windows were down because it was summer and there's no way seeing the car. And naturally they heard me as we were going by them, because every white robed head turned looking straight at the car. And Mom at the time, well, we didn't stop to get out to go to the store, put it that way, because she kept right on going and went right back out the parking lot and went straight to the house and hoped that she didn't get followed. Because the KKK, yeah, they didn't like black, white, or any other colored people. But if you were a white person and you went against their, because they pretty much try to control that area, then you were just as much a target as anybody else was. And, you know, she got home scared to death and hoping that she wouldn't have any repercussions from my making the remark I made as a kid. Yep, white privilege, folks. Hey, great. Yeah. So grew up, graduated, eventually, you know, got on with the police department when I was about 23, major police department in the South. And crime rate during the mid-90s at this point, or well, early to mid-90s, were, wow, impressive in this place. The Bloods and the Crips gang banging, full swing at the time. Man, there wasn't a day went by that there wasn't some form of shooting or another going on. One in particular I remember that stands out with the gang shootings is in the projects one evening. It was during the summer. I was on a drug task force at the time, but we responded to major calls if we were needed. A running gun battle right in the middle of the projects. Now this is summertime. There's not a lot of AC in those projects. Most everybody in that place with their children sitting out on the porches, the children out playing in the courtyard areas, in the swing sets, whatever they got going on, just out minding their own business, trying to have a nice evening. And I shouldn't have to, but you know, okay, it's a black neighborhood, black projects, okay? And you know, apparently the black gang members who were having some sort of dispute between each other decided tonight would be a good night to go blazing down the trails and just have a massive running shootout with each other through this crowded area of children and parents just trying to make their lives. Suffice it to say, it was a mess. Bodies everywhere, literally. Most of them dead by the time it was said and done, and by the time everybody got on scene to deal with it. One in particular that will stand out the rest of my life. It was burned into my head, and it will stay with me the rest of my life. Walking after we got the area secured and we made sure no other shooters were around, I'm walking over to one of my partners, and I passed by this front porch with this woman sitting there, and she has this little kid, couldn't have been no more than 9 or 10 years old, and he's laying across her lap as if he's sleeping. And I noticed a massive pool of blood underneath his head. And his body was just twitching. Just twitching. Looked at his eyes, they were open. Just nothing. Gone. Because a bullet had entered his head on one side and blown out the other side of his head, with a big gaping hole right there. And the woman holding him, I honestly don't know if this is his mom or some other family member, I don't know. But she was just rocking him. Just like he was asleep, hoping he would wake up. Well, he's never going to wake up. That's just one of many that I saw. And they say Black Lives Matter. I never saw any public outrage at this incident, and that was just one of many victims on that one night. But Black Lives Matter? Really? Where was the protest? Where were the outraged people all over the news like they are now? Where were they? Never saw it. And I was literally, me and my partners and every other, while we were checking, we were literally stepping over other bodies at various points here and there, because it was for several blocks this went on. Okay? Black Lives Matter. How about, why can't just American lives, every life matter? Why? And white privilege? I have no idea what that is. I am where I am today because growing up in the projects I grew up in, and having to use food stamps to go to the store was always kind of embarrassing, and I didn't want to have that the rest of my life. So I tried to make something better of myself, and thankfully I did. And it's not because somebody handed it to me or that I was entitled to have it. I worked my ass off for it because I wanted to make myself something better. And these little groups of malcontent, little self-entitled, little brat, idiot kids we got running around right now that are being paid to cause all this disruption, they have no idea what it's like to be oppressed. No idea. Not a freaking clue. But yet we let them, we just keep letting them do it. I want to know at what point, where did the turn go? What happened when we take known criminals, regardless of how they were arrested, whatever, we take known criminals and put them up on these pedestals and treat them as fucking heroes, while at the same time demonizing and vilifying the very people who put their lives on the line to protect the innocent people from these criminals. And that's what we're teaching our children. That's what the news now is teaching our children. And I don't want my grandson, that's not what I want him to be taught. Is that what you want your grandson, your granddaughter, your child? Is that what you want them to be taught? I hope not. Because I want to do my best to make sure, somehow or another, that this little baby that arrived today will hopefully be able to grow up in a world where that's not going to be an issue. And I beg each and every one of you out there Please try to do the same. Get this whole ridiculous bunch of bullshit about racial conflict out of your heads, folks. We're human. Everybody's human. Here in this country, we're Americans. Period. Man, that's it. So do with that what you will, folks. But I just couldn't keep my tongue any longer. I had to get this out. Thanks for listening.